Hello and welcome to the garden. So a few days ago I did some planting out, and at the time I checked my peas and they were ready to go out, but I thought I could leave it just a couple of days. I'm going to get them in the ground right now, and I've got two varieties here, Alderman and Carouby de Maussane. So Alderman is a fairly large podded, quite a large pea. It's a tall growing variety. Too tall in fact for the frame I've made for it, but it will have to put up because I haven't got time to make anything better. That's a very nice pea. The other one is an absolutely fantastic mange too. The pods are really huge, the flowers are beautiful. It's an all-round brilliant mange too. So I'm going to get one row of each of those out alongside the frame. So I'm just using this reinforcing mesh for the pea structure, and obviously I will be adding randomly bits of string on here to hold them in place. This has been fixed down with these long stakes of pretty tough old reinforcing bar, so hopefully this cannot be blown away. The hori hori is a good weapon for this job. It's a little bit bigger than the cell size. I've got lots of plants here, so I will probably set these out fairly close together. And well, let's make a start. Lots of lovely roots in these cells. These cell trays do a fantastic job, really. Make sure that's deep enough. Yeah, there we go. I want to get quite a lot of plants along here. What I might do early on is run a string across here, low down, give something for these first tendrils to catch hold of, and that will help them, and then later on I will be sort of tying them in place as they grow up here. This stuff will be fine as a support, but it will need a little bit of help, I think, with some strings. So on this side I've got the Alderman planted in exactly the same way. These plants are a little bit more advanced than the Carouby de Maussane. Now they can get their feet down into some decent soil, they should race away. Right, I'm just going to run that string down here, lower down. I will probably be tying these in place fairly soon, a couple of weeks. But until then, I'll put a string fairly low down. Nice thing about this stuff is it's rough, so strings, ties and what have you, they all stay in place nicely. I could have left this for a few days, but they've got the start of the young tendrils here, and won't be too long before these start reaching up, and that will be ideal for them. It is so warm in the greenhouse. I'm just about to pot on these celeriacs, and actually these cells look pretty dry. They had a good soaking 2 days ago, and well, not even 2 days ago, but yeah, it's so warm under cover at the moment that these are drying out very quickly. So I'm just going to move those on into, well, pretty good size square pots, and they'll be in those for, let's say, a few weeks, and then I'll get them outdoors. So I've got a richer compost mix here with a bit of feed in it. Just pop these out. Nice little root system there. Nice little plant, but actually rather dry. Now, here's a little trick that I learned from the Dawn Chorus plot. Alan there, I don't know why I've never thought of this. When he pots on his plants and he uses square pots are much better for root development. He pots them on at an angle like that, and it leaves a lot more room in the corners. I have no idea why I've never thought to do that, but it's a good little trick, and thanks very much, Alan. I am now going to do it that way. Right, quick and easy, and I better give that a really good soak. I use a pretty free draining mix when I'm sowing, and as a consequence, I mean, you don't want seedlings to sit in soggy compost. But on the other hand, in warm weather with the plants under cover, they can dry out pretty quickly. And these are really dry. Well, celeriac is one of those plants that doesn't really want to dry out, so that is not good gardening. But I mean, they'll be fine. It's not like they're wilting and collapsing here, but I need to keep an eye on those, make sure they don't dry out in the future. So next on the list are these leek seedlings. These are looking very nice, but there's a lot of them here and they're pretty densely packed. So what I would normally do is move those on into another one of these trays. Plenty of soil in there. I think this year I'm going to prick them out individually, and I've just freed up these cell trays. These are good size cells, and I'll prick them out into these, one per cell, and they can go on in there until they're ready to be planted out. So I don't normally do this, but I think I will this year for a change. So this is a mixture of my, well, it's got some of my normal sowing mix in, and then it's got some of this lumpy, fluffy compost, this peat-free compost. It's weird stuff, but I think it's fine for potting on the leek seedlings. I've got a little bit of feed in here as well. They should be happy in these for a little while. And then when they've got a bit more thickness to them, which they should get when I separate them out nicely, when they've got a bit more thickness, I will then, oh hello, There's a big old worm in that bag of compost. I can then set them out in the ground in the usual way. So, some holes. And then in the usual way I want to get underneath these and get lots of root up with them. So there will be lots of root in here. I'll just try and tease out a clump of these. There we go, lovely. And well, they're nice enough little plants. These are Musselburgh, and I'm going to poke that root down. When I plant them out, I do trim the roots. I'm not going to do that today, and I'm only going to plant out the best looking specimens, or prick out I should say. Leeks transplant, very easy. There's no problem with moving these on. Oh, that's a nice one. Reasonably thick stem on that. They grow new root ever so quickly. I'll tuck all of that root down in there. Right, and then quick water. And in a day or two they will settle down and grow away happily. Right, this tray is done, and I've just reduced a little bit of the leaf area here. Now normally when I'm pricking out I do so with a lot of care, and as a consequence the plants really don't sulk at all, but these will. They've had a lot of root disturbance, and I've just trimmed a little bit of the excess top growth away. It's not a bad idea when you reduce the root volume and disturb the roots to also reduce the moisture loss through the leaf. And I mean, these are pretty long, some of these, so it's not a bad idea. But after a couple of days these should really perk up, and they should be very happy in here for a few weeks. Well, I've got exactly the same job to do here on my mystery onion. These aren't looking too bad. When I sowed these I wasn't sure I was going to get anything, but I've got 2 trays of these. I really don't need that many. I've no idea what this is. It's some sort of perennial onion. We got it from a friend in Finland, and well, you can see I watered this recently. It's dripping everywhere, but I'm going to do exactly the same with these as I did with the leeks. Probably not trimming the tops, or very little. There doesn't seem to be so much top growth. The stems are pretty thick on some of these, so I'll pick the best one and do, I don't know, maybe 1 tray, 2 at the most of these. I'm going to do 2 more trays of the leeks. That will be more than enough. Right, I have done the onions, the leeks, the celeriac, but I've got 4 parsley plants left in this tray, and rather than throw them away, I thought I'd just pot those up. Got a couple of little clay pots here. I'll put 2 plants in each pot. I'll use some of this awful fluffy compost. I don't suppose the parsley's going to care too much. This bag looks like it's gotten wet. This is even worse than usual. I don't know why anybody would call this stuff compost. It's dreadful. This would be brilliant if it was stacked for another year and actually composted. Right, so 2 plants in each. Better than chucking them on the compost heap. Just look at the texture of this. It's just lumps and fibre. There's nothing to it. It's just really weird. Right. Get rid of that. Drop of water only because those plugs have got so dry. I'll find a spot for those. Outside they can go over where the mint is, and hopefully I'll remember to give them a drop of water from time to time. So we're clearing away lots of the plants now, and I'm keeping the hanging shelf here for a bit. In a week or so I'm going to be planting underneath it, but I can still leave this shelf in place. But I've removed the trestle benches here. So on the shelf here I've got my peanuts. They're just coming through. A lot of growth in just a couple of days. Then I've got 3 lots of leeks, and in that one at the back I've got the mystery onion. Now they don't look too bad. Hopefully they won't sulk too much. It's a little bit brutal for the leeks, but they do transplant fairly well. I keep that tray of spares from the mystery onion, and then I've got my spare pea plants. I've got more than I really need there, so I'll probably just keep hold of those for a little bit and take some of these young shoots for the salad. No reason to waste them. And there I've got the celeriac plants. I didn't keep all of them, but that's more than enough for what we need, plus a couple of spares, so that's all good. So I am definitely getting there with the planting out and potting on. The big job is still to come, the tomatoes, peppers, chilies and aubergines. But yeah, it's not looking too bad now. Lots of the garden is planted up and plenty of crops coming on. So anyway, that is all for this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and bye for now.